The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Granpeesheh and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Good morning and welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. I'm Shannon Penrod and look who I'm sitting next to in the studio. It's Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. We love you so much.
Love you so much.
Well,
it's so good to be here.
So thrilled to have you here in person. We weren't sure yesterday if we were going to have you in person, but you're here.
I'm here.
We are live. It is the Tuesday before the week of Thanksgiving. That's how everybody's looking at this week.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
And I, for one, I thought there was an extra week. We're having it a little early this year, aren't we?
It feels early. Yeah, well, yes, it is early.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving 2023. We are live. For those of you who are like, is this live or is it Memorex?
It's the Tuesday before the week of Thanksgiving,
There we
right?
are,
Because
yes.
there's another Tuesday.
Yes, there is another Tuesday. Thank you for clarifying that. But it feels like everybody's mind is already on
But it's
Thanksgiving.
because everybody's tired. They want
want the
Thanksgiving
break.
too. I know, that's how I feel.
They want
like,
the trip to
please, give me 5
Hayes.
days. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it sounds like a really good idea. But then, I don't know about you, then all the cooking happens and I'm like, why was this a good idea? And then, we just don't do this anymore. Then you do all the cooking, but then you don't have to cook the rest of the week.
This
It's
is
like
true.
there's leftovers. And
For
you
me
order
though,
out.
for me, like on that day, I'll start like around 8 or something, and I'll just take care of everything.
Oh, on the Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like by 11 or 12, I'm completely done.
So it takes you 2 hours to
2 or
cook everything?
3. I mean, the turkey goes in the oven, right? And then I
Yeah.
don't worry about it all day, and everything else. My girls also help, and we're
That's
just
true.
done.
You have girls.
I know girls
You're
are a big
so-
help.
Girls are
Girls
amazing.
are a big
I
help.
need to adopt some girls. That's what I need. I need some girls. If you guys have girls, you can be writing into us right now and telling us whether you have girls and what your Thanksgiving traditions are. I start the Wednesday before cooking
The
things.
day before, yeah.
Yeah, marinating vegetables and whatnot. And I'm not doing a lot this year, but it still
Yeah.
seems like a lot. The turkey
Yeah.
for me is the easiest
The
part.
turkey is super easy, and
Yeah.
usually we have like at least 2 other couples who come over,
Yeah.
and they bring something.
Oh, see, that's
So I
the
don't
ticket.
really, yeah. And then one of my daughters usually makes dessert,
Oh, well, there
so
you
I don't
it.
have to deal with it.
Okay, I realize my entire problem with Thanksgiving. I
Is
don't have girls.
You need other people, yeah.
And James likes to cook. My son likes to cook. So my husband usually is working.
Yeah.
So we do Thanksgiving late in the day
I
because
see. Yes.
he's working.
Yes.
So
yes.
I will tell you our Thanksgiving tradition, which I love, which we've done for over 10 years now, is that there's a dish that my mom used to make that it's called scallop corn, but I think some people call it corn pudding. It's like almost it's like a bread, but it's corn, and it's really comfort food. And we
Nice.
make 2 ginormous. We get up in the morning.
Yeah.
We make 2 ginormous trays of it, and we take it to Gobble Gobble Give, and they feed that to homeless people.
How nice.
And they deliver that to homeless people around
That's
the country.
so nice.
And I get to go to bed on Thanksgiving night and know that people
You've
who
helped.
appreciated it have my mom's scallop
I love
corn.
that.
Because it's all stuff, it's gluten and dairy.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about,
Yeah.
it is not for anybody in my household.
Yeah.
But I love knowing that, that's real comfort food. And we do that
Yes.
every year. And we donate, because your daughter turned us on to keeping all the hotel soaps and shampoos and everything, and we donate those. Those go to homeless
Yeah.
people too. That's
Exactly.
our always Thursday morning.
That's so nice. That's
that
so
Jen and I
nice.
do
We
that.
used to do something like that. I'll bring it back this year, and I'll make a bunch of bags so we can start handing them out
Gobble
again.
Gobble Give, a really easy way to do it. You just drive it up and they take it from you, and it's
Oh, that's
super simple.
wonderful.
And if you want to, you can be on the line where they dish things up.
Yeah.
Or you can be on the line of cars that take the plates
the cars,
and
yeah.
find homeless people. But they have so many volunteers that you never
Never.
feel
I know. I've
like-
tried. Yeah. For the
yeah.
shelter here too, and they don't
Yeah.
need volunteers. But
Yeah.
I donate a lot of food to them.
Yeah, they
so.
love the food. They
Yeah.
say that that's the big thing.
What's your favorite pie before we move on from this, or
Well,
dessert?
I don't really do dessert anymore. It's
Yeah.
just not in my lexicon anymore. But we make a gluten-free, dairy-free pumpkin pie.
Nice.
And
nice.
occasionally I will make a pumpkin or an apple pie that's a gluten-free.
The best.
What's your favorite pie?
I always tend to go back to the apple pie and ice cream. That's just but I don't usually do it for Thanksgiving. We'll have pumpkin pie,
Right.
pecan, which I love,
Yeah.
but all of this sugar destroys me. So
Yeah, I can't.
I try to stay away from it as much as possible too.
Now, my signature pie, if I'm going to somebody's house or I want to make a treat for somebody, I make a chocolate silk pie that
Oh my God.
that I'm told is to die for. I can't go anywhere near it. It's
Yeah.
dairy, gluten, and chocolate. It's like the trifecta of putting
Yeah.
me in the emergency room. But but I'm told it's the thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometime I'll make you a chocolate pie, but I
You know-
love you enough not to, because it's
Do not.
just
Yeah, but well,
so-
so if I'm gonna actually like take in those calories,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will do it only with banana cream pie.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make
because
you
like
banana cream
I
sometime.
will. There's no way I can resist that. That's just
Okay.
a done deal.
My child last night told me that something tasted like banana cream pie. I think he was talking about a non-alcoholic beer. He said, "Oh yeah, it tastes like banana cream pie."
my
And I said,
goodness.
"How would you know? You have never had a banana cream pie in your life." And he was like, "Well, you know, I know
Yeah.
what like a crust tastes like, and I know what bananas taste like. I need to find a way to make him a banana
Yes.
cream pie that's dairy-free."
Exactly.
But that just sounds wrong to me. Hey, we've digressed a little bit, but we're live right
We're
now.
back.
You guys are writing in. We love that. Our topic today is teaching manners, because people have been
Okay.
in writing about that,
Oh,
because
that's
they're
a
going
tough
to think,
one.
right? It is a tough one. But I want to say hi to everybody, and we're thrilled to be here with you. We're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and a couple of other sites. We're paring down the number of sites where we're live, because we really want to have you guys watching us on YouTube and Facebook, where we are firmly at. Andrea says, "Good morning, ladies. When my husband asks what I'm doing, I tell him I'm watching the Dream Team." How much do we love that? Thank you so much. Liliana, we're saying good morning to you. I think I'm gonna start with one question about manners, actually, that came in from our dear friend Parker, that I think has to do with manners. Let's see if we all agree. And Parker is not able to watch today. He has to work today, which is the
Okay.
best possible reason for not
Yes.
being with us, Parker. But he's going to catch the recording. He says, I think it goes in the manners category. "I got in trouble on social media again, this time for telling a now former acquaintance that she was raising her baby wrong for getting her baby baptized. And the day before that, I basically shamed another person for being Catholic. Is there a way to not only teach me, but other people on the spectrum, especially on social media etiquette? I know it will be a problem. Please help me." Yeah.
Parker is the best. I love how he identifies these very important subjects.
Yes.
I'm not sure. So, this is interesting. Let me answer this the right way. I have so many thoughts about this. I'm not sure this is manners, Parker, but I guess it is in some way, because, and I think this will be helpful to you. We always have, or often people will have thoughts about something that someone else is doing, and we may not agree with what they're doing. But the reason that we don't necessarily share our feelings with them is that always people feel they're doing the best thing, right? When I do something with my child, I definitely think that's the right thing to do. That's what I believe in, that's what I want to do, and so on. And that might be different from what you think is best. But when you voice that, when you say that, and especially when you say it on social media so others can see, it's very upsetting to the person who is already down a path, already doing something that they very strongly believe in. And remember, this goes back to being able to see things from other people's perspective. That's really where it's at. So whenever you have a thought about something that someone's saying, try to put yourself in, reverse the situation first, and think that you're doing something that you're very committed to, and someone on social media, so for public viewing, criticizes you. And nobody likes to be criticized. Let's just put that out there. That's the first rule. Nobody likes to be criticized. So the fact that we don't publicly or privately, usually we don't criticize others, is, I guess, could be classified under manners. It's just a social norm, it's a social rule that you don't publicly criticize other people because you don't know all the details of why they are doing what they're doing, and also because their life is their life. Their thoughts are their thoughts. Your life is your life, and you have every right to make choices for yourself, but your opinion of how things should be only really relate to yourself, not to other people's lives, right? And if it was, Parker, let me tell you, I wish that everybody had the same train of thought, that everybody agreed on everything, because then we would have no war and the world would be a much better place. But the truth is, people have different mindsets, people have different decisions, thoughts, commitments, things they strongly believe in, and we have to be respectful of the things people choose, even if they're not the things we might choose. And so that's kind of more a perspective-taking issue, but I guess it does also pertain to manners in some way, because it's anytime you give someone respect, you are practicing good manners.
There we go. Can I tell you the criteria that I have for social media that I find my husband and I have to talk this through between ourselves on a regular basis? I think of it as lawn signs. That, around this time of year when we get election-y time of year, some people get a sign because they feel so vehemently about a candidate and they plunk it in their lawn.
Right.
And now I walk by and I have my feelings about it. I agree or disagree. But I understand that if I throw mud on that sign, I'm trespassing and I'm vandalizing, and that I cannot do that. But if I agree with the sign, I can go, hey, and give it a thumbs up as I'm passing by. But I don't get to move the sign, and I don't get to do anything to defame the sign. If I dislike it greatly enough and it fatutses me enough, then I can go get my own lawn sign and I can put it on my lawn. So I always say, when somebody posts something on social media that I go, oh, and I want to go in and go, nope, that's not true, you're misrepresenting. I go, wait a second, that's their lawn. I have my own lawn that I can post things on. And believe me, I am serious business. If I post something on my page and somebody comes in with negativity, I take it down and I tell them, you do that on your page, not on my page. Don't you bring that here. But how often do I want to reply?
Oh, yeah, we all do.
My husband will say to me, I need you to talk me through this.
Yes, I love that,
because I really want to say something, what this person said. And we go, it's their lawn. They're right.
Absolutely, and that's what, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion. You can say, we're supposed to be able to say how we feel. And we all need to be respectful of other people's feelings and statements about their lives, what they're doing, all that. If we didn't, it would just be continual war. So you have to respect what other people choose for themselves. It's just that important.
I mean, and I do think of that as being manners, and I think there's a lot of bad manners right now where people are like, well, I have a right to put my opinion on your lawn. And I think for me, that's sort of the black and white rule. I can give a thumbs up, I can be in support, but if I'm not, I need to put that on my page. That's just my litmus test. That's what I do. But I love, Parker, that you hear that you've made a mistake and you are willing to own it, and you are always wanting to see what you can do better. If everyone was that way, we would live in a much better world.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one of the things I admire about Parker so much, is that he analyzes things all the time, and it's so good.
Yes, absolutely. I used to say to my mom, support or silence. I can't deal with anything else, Mom. Support or silence. And that's a good rule, too. Andrea wants to know, she says, my son is full-time ABA clinic setting. I'm pushing for him to be a typically developing preschool next year. My plan would be for him to go to preschool with an RBT in the mornings and then back to the center in the afternoon. His center told me they do not let RBTs leave the center. I love his center. Do you think I should look for a center that will do community outings or just let him try preschool without support and the center in the afternoon? I'm told by the center he is high functioning, but he still struggles with back and forth conversation. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there is. But I think I'm trying to figure out, I just like put myself in your place. When you love a center, I don't think you should give it up. I think you should probably have a conversation with them and ask them, like, how do they plan on helping your child mainstream into preschool? Because they should, right? I mean, that's part of their plan as well, and therefore they would have to leave the center and go to school with him. Alternatively, you might want to have another provider be the shadow in preschool and then stay at your center in the afternoon with him. Because I think I don't really recommend starting any kind of school program without help.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but I hesitate because we don't want our kids to fail. We want them to be successful. So I think the solution might be to have an aide from either the school district or another provider in the mornings in preschool, and then just have your son still stay in the center that you like in the afternoons.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be an RBT that goes to school?
It doesn't have to be.
I mean, I don't know whether her funding is that, but
I think Andrew, clarify for us, maybe you're just referring to any kind of behavior tech.
And then I have questions about that from the center. Like, it's a new
Yeah,
notion for me about why they don't let RBTs
I'm very
go out
shocked too, yeah.
And I don't know whether it's they've prioritized and said, well, we want our RBTs here working on specific things, and we have other people that can do community outings. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Right? It's all speculation.
Yeah.
But if in most centers, I'm going to put this out there, you tell me if I'm right, you have people who are RBTs, which means that they have passed the credentialing process, that there are some insurances that will require that and say it has to be an RBT. But you usually have other people at your center who are newer hired that are working towards their RBT, don't yet have the certification. Are they allowing those people to go? Because
I don't think anyone would differentiate who leaves the center and who doesn't. What I think might be happening is that if you're getting insurance funding, the insurance companies often won't let you have your behavior technicians in a school setting. So they might not be able to get funding to work with your child in the school. But it depends again. Usually payers will pay for anyone to be in the school if there's challenging behavior. If there isn't, and your child just needs someone to help them like integrate into the school, you should be getting funding from the school district.
Yes.
So those are the two paths, and maybe you can clarify and we will tell you more.
she says, I just love RBTs. Well, we all love the RBTs because it means that there are people who are motivated and working towards that certification.
yeah.
But remember that you can be a non-RBT on a Tuesday and become an RBT by Thursday
Right,
if you've worked
right.
all the steps. So having somebody who's on their way to an RBT,
I think she might be responding to what Sarah wrote, which says, what about an aide
okay,
or TA for school? Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter if they're RBT or something else. I have some incredible people who are never got their RBT, and
Yeah.
they're just amazing. So I think it's just, and maybe, if she can answer the issues you brought up. So maybe they're not RBT, but if the center doesn't allow people in school, then that's a whole different thing. If they have other staff that are allowed in school, we'll certainly use those then.
yeah. And I love that Sarah says in the meeting, you can ask for the aide to get training in autism. And yes, you absolutely can ask for that. They're very slippery about that. And it's very hard to get it required in your IEP what kind of training and how much training somebody gets.
Yeah.
My personal preference, instead of going that route, is asking for a bank of hours for consultation, where your ABA provider, in some cases your supervisor, goes in and observes and can make recommendations
Right.
and train your aide.
Right.
But that's how
true.
it ends up working in the IEP wording wise, is that you say, I want consultation and I want to specify that it's my ABA provider.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm just trying to think, like some providers don't accept funding from schools either, just because the funding tends to be lower than what you get from health insurance.
Yeah.
Coming back to CARD, for instance, they had discontinued most of the school district contracts, if not all, and we are signing new contracts with all the school districts right now. We just signed 3 more yesterday. So we're bringing them back on because I think it's really important to have a relationship with the school, because it's a part of the child's treatment where we want to mainstream the child back into school. I just want to respond to this. The training that you want to get is not in autism, it's in ABA. The training that you get, if I was to give anyone training on autism, essentially I'd just be teaching them what the symptoms of autism are. But teaching someone ABA is much more, I guess it's more detailed, more comprehensive. It's teaching them a language that they can use with children on the spectrum. It's teaching them how to teach children on the spectrum. And you know, the RBT requires like 40 hours of class or overall training, and I don't even think that's enough, but it's something. And I think I would, any day, I would take a therapist, a BT, a behavior technician with a couple of years of experience over a brand new RBT. Let's just be clear about that. Anyone who has a couple of years of experience is going to be much better at it, because these are like techniques that you have to implement, and over time they kind of become natural to you.
And not only that, for me, there's an added component about there's ABA, but then utilizing that set of tools in a classroom setting.
Yes.
Because that's a little bit different than
very
just
true.
being in a room one-on-one. You know. So I love that. Andrea says, okay, thank you, ladies. I'm going to figure out then how he can have support staff with him.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of not saying goodbye to the center, but saying to them, how can you support
if you like a
us in
center, you got to maintain the relationship. It's important for our kids, right? I mean, they establish bonds with their therapists.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to get to some of our other questions about manners. Somebody wrote in and said, we're going to my mom's for Thanksgiving and I'm already dreading it.
Yeah.
My stepfather is a real winner who constantly picks at my kid because he doesn't make eye contact, doesn't shake his hand, doesn't answer questions with yes, sir. I don't know what to do. I want to stick up for my kid. He's 8 and on the spectrum. We are over the moon that he can talk. Manners seem like a ridiculous thing, but on the other hand, I would love it if he were a little better at manners. Do I tell my mom to tell my stepdad to shut his pie hole, or do I teach my kid manners? Thank you. I love this person's sense of humor.
I love it too. I think you do both. That's just my suggestion, because you know, criticizing someone is not a really good way to teach them something. So your stepfather being critical or making your son feel bad is probably not a good way to go about it. So I would ask your mom to ask him not to make your son feel bad about himself. I would definitely do that. I always, above all else, I stand up for my kids. Above all else, it doesn't matter. So that's number one. But I also think if you are interested in teaching your child, you know, those types of social situation manners, then do so. It's not necessarily just for this one occasion. You know, you basically can just set some rules. Now, remember, in teaching manners, this is kind of the thing that's important, is that with typically developing kids, they start to identify situations where they are supposed to do a series of behaviors, and we never really think about it in terms of, my child has learned manners. They learn it sporadically and from modeling, and they see certain things, and then over time it all kind of classifies under the title manners. So what I suggest you do is you itemize and list some behaviors, some very specific behaviors that you feel would constitute good manners. Like, for instance, whatever that was. Like, you know, when you talk to an older man, you should say sir, if that's something you want in your family. When you meet someone new for the first time, shake hands. Just make rules that apply to your family, your culture, and the things that you consider to be manners. I remember like teaching my kids, when they're done with food, put your fork and knife in this position. Like, that's only because I learned that in an English boarding school, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like everybody has a different definition of what they classify as good manners. List those things and then just teach them individually. Don't do it under pressure. Don't do it with criticism being the consequence if he gets it wrong. Model for him when he does it correctly, reward him, and so on and so forth. And eventually you'll get to a Thanksgiving where he's doing those things, and then he'll you know, your stepfather will be delighted.
I think the manners things is such an interesting thing, right? We see that, like with Temple Grandin, Dr. Grandin has impeccable manners. And I assumed that her mom drilled that. I just assumed that. And then I interviewed you, Stacia, and I said, how did you get Temple so that she said, here's the funniest thing, I didn't at all. It's just that she would hear something about something, or she would see that somebody would do something, and she said she realized that was currency. She realized, and that was right around the time that they were teaching Jem about workers and along with safety, and he was learning that, okay, when I'm at Target, the workers wear a red shirt and tan pants, and they have a name tag on. So he was orienting to name tags. And we were at Disneyland, I'll never forget this, and there was a woman who was working, and she was in her costume, working the line. She had her name tag on, and she said something to Jem. And Jem was reading at that point, and so he looked up and he said, oh, thank you, Doris. And she went, aren't you the sweetest little thing ever? And this is a little known fact about Disneyland. When a kid does something that's nice, they're given little toys that they have in their apron. And she said, I have something special for you. And she pulled out, it was a little thing of Cinderella's shoe.
Oh, wow.
And she said, this is for you because you're such a nice boy. Solidified in his brain, when you say somebody's name on their name tag, it means something to them.
I love that. I love it.
And so anytime we would go into Costco, and you know how they have a greeter there, and he would like, hi, Sam, how are you? And Sam would go, hey, I hope you, and he would see this reaction when you say people's names. And like, there are a whole lot of other things that he does not know manners-wise, because I'm an idiot, but that he gets.
I love it. I love it.
To this day, he says, oh, you know, it means people light up when you say their name.
It's so true. It's such a good lesson.
Goes, oh, he's so polite, and I can't take any credit for that.
It's such a good lesson.
But it reminded me of what you, Stacia, said about Dr. Grandin, that if they see it as currency, later on, Jem, you know, there was something, and he was like, I don't understand what the deal is, why it's so important that I make eye contact with somebody. And I said, you don't have to make eye contact, but it's currency.
Yes.
It's currency if you want them to know that you're serious and that
That's
you
a good
mean
way
something.
to put it.
It's currency. You can choose to use it or not. And he went, oh, it matters to them?
Yes.
And I said, that's all it is, babe. It matters to them. And he said, oh, I wish somebody just explained that to me. So if I want to make something clear, I need to look them in the eye.
Exactly.
And then that was it.
I love that.
For that. Right? We didn't have to have the eye contact discussion ever again. Now, he was older. That we could not have had that discussion at 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point. It just is very, very hard to, like, I guess, figure out all the environmental stimuli that relate to a particular behavior. You know, it's like, oh, this is someone new, it's an older person, it's a male, I need to shake their hand and say, sir. Or, you know, this is someone who seems to be a friend of my mom's, and it's a female, I might be able to hug them. You know, these things are very hard. But
the
you
nuances
start,
of it.
the nuances are hard, but you start and you set these specific rules, and that way it starts to kind of make sense. I love the whole idea of its currency.
It
gets
but
you points.
I feel bad for this mom about her stepdad. I'm sure there's nuances there. Right? But I love what you said in the beginning. I choose my kid above everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you never want to not defend and protect, right? And it might not, it's obviously not intended to be harmful, but I never accept a situation where my child feels criticized. That's just not good for anyone.
I want to make a t-shirt of that. Just say, well, because sometimes we get into people please mood and it's just like, oh, you know, if he would just do this and then my stepdad would crawl off my back and my mom would not be whatever. But, you know, it wouldn't hurt the stepdad to walk a little bit in the other direction and make an effort to meet her kid where he is. Now I'm getting hyped up.
No,
But you know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
for
like,
sure.
Why
I
does
totally
it always have
agree.
to be on our kid's end?
Absolutely.
And where is the mom in all this? Like, why isn't she interceding? I'm sorry, I'm taking up for you. Okay, next question. We are trying to teach our daughter on the spectrum manners. How do we teach her to turn down hugs she doesn't want without seeming like a rude kid? No one taught this to me, and I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
That's what they wrote, but I agree with them. I wasn't taught that.
No, it's true. It's a very, very good point. But again, like it's such an interesting, I'm trying to figure this out because I don't know, I'm trying to think of circumstances where somebody would give you a hug that you don't want.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
All the time.
Oh,
People
really?
do this. Oh, everybody has the aunt who, and look, I don't know, like I need to be thinking about this for myself because I will see my nieces and nephews and I don't say to them, can I hug you?
Yeah.
I just go up and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Right? And not every kid wants that.
That's such a good point. That's a really, really good point because I do too. When I see my nieces, I'll definitely be, my nephews, I don't care how old they are, I'll be hugging them as well. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that there's any, like, you know, specific statement that your child, it's not, I don't think it's being rude. I think people might get offended, but who cares? If he's uncomfortable, he should just, or she,
this is a she, but it could be boys too.
She should just say, can we not hug right now?
Yeah.
Right, and that's, I mean, it is, I know people will probably take offense to that, but who cares? Who cares? I mean, like, we have to all kind of be in a place where we are comfortable with ourselves. And a lot of our kids don't like the sensory contact.
Yes.
You know, it's funny you said, my husband has a friend who just hugs in a very uncomfortable way. And I always, it feels like when you're hugging him, he just like doesn't want it. Like, yeah. And so like, I recently I said to Greg, I was like, why does he always do that? And he's like, he just doesn't like hugs. And I was like, okay, good point.
Yeah. There are some people you hug them and it's like hugging a stick.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But I love that we're talking about this because it helps me to remember to not just hug. Yeah. And that it is important to ask for consent to hug. But I love giving them language of saying, no, thank you.
Yeah, could you not
no
do this
hugs right now?
Yeah, or, I mean, and honestly, these are the times where like people need to be more knowledgeable, especially if it's a child on the spectrum who's uncomfortable with sensory input. Yeah. They just say that. Like, I don't like sensory stuff.
Yeah, but can we talk about it on the other side too, that my kid was somebody who desperately needed input, and he would go up, we were having to work with him because if anybody was sitting anywhere, he would go up and get in their lap. Total strangers. He would go up and get in their lap. And we had to teach him that that was not okay. But we saw that when we were around family that we weren't around regularly, they would go up and hug every other kid, but they would not hug my son.
Interesting.
And when I would say to them, why are you not giving him a hug? They would say, oh, I thought kids on the spectrum don't like hugs.
Ah, there you go.
And I would have to say, that is true for some people on the spectrum. But others do. Not for my child. Yeah. You should ask him, would he like a hug? And of course, he wanted the hug. Yeah. So, I think asking, if we can remember to ask.
It's such a good point. I mean, I have to remember that myself.
The other thing
I'll see how my nieces react when I ask them next time.
But the other thing you could do as a parent, I'm just spitballing, is that I like sending a letter before getting together for a holiday. Yeah. And saying, here's what we're working on right now. Yeah. And what you could do is send a letter and saying, right now we're working on them giving assent for hugs. So it is totally okay to ask them if they would like a hug, and we would appreciate it if you would do whatever. If you say, "Can I give you a hug?"
Yep.
And if they say, "I would love a hug," give them a hug. And if they say, "No, thank you," that you not take it personally.
That's right.
And
That's
you could
exactly
send that
right.
in a letter today, in an email,
right.
And hopefully,
Kind of prepare the situation, which is always a good idea.
and let's be honest, that there's a lot of people in our family that would love that and go, "Hey, I want to be helpful."
Yeah.
And then there's at least one or two who are like not going to listen to that no matter what you do.
Yeah, and it's like I just want people to realize that this is not just our kids on the spectrum. I think all people have these preferences that have to do, like, we're talking, Shannon, you made me realize that, sometimes even with my kids who are typically developing adults,
Yeah.
like for Thanksgiving, we have different groups of people coming. And they will say, "Oh God, I hope so-and-so is not coming this year because I really just want to feel comfortable."
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that
Yes.
is basically saying the same thing. It's
Yes.
like, I don't want huggers around me, or I don't want
Yes.
this. So, and
Or I
it's
don't wanna be
totally fine. It's
lectured,
totally fine. It's
or-
your Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
your child should be comfortable.
Absolutely. Esther says, "My son's cousin is also on this." I'm figuring that out. My son's cousin. What does that make him to you? My son's cousin.
Well,
Isn't that your
it could be on the
nephew?
other parent's
But
side.
that's still your nephew, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, is also on the spectrum, and they are both 4 years old. Anytime they are at my in-laws together, my father-in-law will compare them
Oh, God.
and make the cousin seem like he is talking more, even though in reality he is not. On top of all that, they are in denial that the cousin is on the spectrum, even though he definitely is. It all makes me very uncomfortable. Gosh, I wonder why. And I'm not sure how to respond. Should I just ignore it? Do I say something? They are really very nice people, and I don't think that they mean harm, but it bothers me. Oh, Esther, I am giving you a hug
Yeah.
because that is not fun.
No, it's not fun. It's not fair to kids. I don't care, they're cousins, but also it could be siblings, just friends, whatever. It's just not right to compare kids.
No.
Because one kid is always going to feel worse, right? And it's just,
Yes.
and even if your child is not aware of it, you are. And it's not necessary. I think, honestly, especially because they're nice and they're doing this with no bad intention, I think it's totally fine for you to have a conversation with, this is the father-in-law, and just say, I think sometimes maybe he might get sad when you compare him to his cousin. He might feel like he's not good enough. Like, this is what I was talking about in regards to not letting our kids be criticized.
Yes.
Because, in life, we have enough failure as it is, right? Like, we fail and we learn from those failures.
Yeah.
But if there's someone criticizing you for whatever reason, or even in very subtle ways making you feel criticized, like in this situation, it's not a real criticism, but it may possibly make your child feel like they're not good enough. That over time is not a good thing for anyone. So just ask your father-in-law and just explain. I think all of this kind of stuff is so important in terms of communication.
Yeah.
To say, the reason I'm asking you is because I just don't want him to feel not good enough.
Yeah. I think you and Esther both have more faith in people than I do. Like, I feel like this stuff is very passive aggressive. And as nice as these people are and as wonderful as they are, like, it's that person who always has the little digs that you go, oh, and we excuse it on their behalf all the time and go, I'm sure they're really nice. I'm sure they didn't mean it as a diss. But there is a nudge to it, right? I mean, if you're really a good person, sometimes we don't do perspective taking, right? But I'm not 100% sure that there isn't something passive aggressive about that.
Yeah.
Is he trying to nudge you to do something or say something or be something? But I think even if that is the case, it's still worthwhile to have the discussion.
It definitely is, yeah.
Could this is not helpful?
Right, right.
Is there a way that you could, if you're having these thoughts, not say them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I also always, in these types of scenarios, honestly, when something makes me uncomfortable, before I do anything about it, sit and really ask myself a bunch of questions. Just because anything that makes you uncomfortable is also a really good learning opportunity for you. So it's a matter of just sitting and asking yourself, why is this making me feel uncomfortable? Is it because I feel like my child is not good enough? Is it what's going on with you that is making you feel uncomfortable? Because potentially your child might not even really be aware of what's going on.
Right.
And it's just your feelings. And I would ask myself about that, because you also bring up the fact that this other family is in denial of their child being on the spectrum. Those are things that, you know, it might kind of like annoy you, but think of it this way: if you are aware, and then you're doing something about it for your child. If they're not aware, then unfortunately they're one step behind, and they're, you know, you have, like, so in other words, try to look at the situation a little bit differently and see if you can be okay with it, if your child is okay with it. I always question those things as well, because sometimes it's a matter of just learning from situations.
Well, you're a wonderful psychologist, and so you bring that up. I am much more reactive. I'm just like, what's behind this, and why are they digging? So I appreciate you. And I do want to say, we started the show, and I said I was going to tell you something that a parent said to me this morning. As many of you know, Dr. Granpeesheh stepped back in when the company that you built and loved and nurtured, that you then sold, so that you could, you know, leave it in capable hands and have great things happen, and you could go chase other dreams in your life and retire and have time. That was not what happened.
Right.
And the company very quickly, my words, no one else's, very quickly was in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Like a wildly successful company that was quickly in bankruptcy and in danger of ceasing to exist.
Right.
And you notably stepped back in, put everything you had on the line, took your retirement and went poof, and said, I'm going to come back in and
take over again. Yeah.
And right the ship and do what you can to help the families and to help the staff. It's the reason why I made a video saying I'm back because she's back.
Crazy.
So I've come back to CARD, and I'm trying to help with families because she's back. And many of us made that choice and said, I'm back because she's back. And I just want you to know what a privilege it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
I'm going to get emotional, but it's
You're
such
making me emotional.
No, it's such a privilege because I know that, you know, it's been a tough couple of months, and it's probably going to be a tough couple of months as everything gets shored back up. But
it is.
You at the head are always coming from a place that is right and true. And I was talking to a parent this morning that we've been talking for the last couple of weeks, and she said, I don't really understand how this happened, that I'm on the phone with you at 6:15 in the morning. And I said, because Dr. Granpeesheh read your message and said, Shannon, talk to this parent, chase this down. And she said, you know what that says to me? That says everything to me. That says she really cares about our kids. And I said, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
course.
And she was like, but
and
no.
about them, about the parents.
Yes, and I said that to her too. And she said, I feel that. Will you let her know?
Thank
that
you.
I
appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And it made me emotional. And I just want you to know that it is a privilege to work with you in this
Shannon.
way.
Thank you.
And I know I'm not the only person who feels that way.
Thank you so much. That's very meaningful, because I do every situation that happens, I immediately put myself in their place. Whether it's a parent or a brand new employee or a child. Like, there's no way we can understand each other unless we do that, you know?
But there are a lot of people who lose sight of that along the way, I guess. You know, people who have brilliant minds, brilliant business minds, who lose sight of that.
Sure.
And I appreciate you.
Or just don't ever do that. Or
well,
just
there's
never
that
learned
too.
how to do that, yeah.
There's that too. But I also...
Thank you so much.
But and it's a thing, and it's why I always say I would follow you into a burning building.
Thank you.
Because I see her do that over and over and over again.
Thank you.
So highest integrity, this woman right here. Anyway, and caring, it's just amazing. Okay, my next question here. I am just wondering why all of the adults I know on the spectrum have very good manners, better than most. Is that a thing, or did you brainwash them all?
Oh my gosh. So it's really interesting because I don't know about. I mean, okay, so that's really. I love the way that question is.
It took a wrong turn though at the end. Did you brainwash
Yeah.
them all?
No, so and I again I take that as humor.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
So I have always said, and actually I think that it's Parker is a great example of this. Individuals on the spectrum tend to really try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like things that we take for granted because we are just, we don't have to work at it. We're not as good. Like neurotypical people are just not as good in terms of goodness.
Yes.
As people on the spectrum.
Well,
I've always said this.
We have artifice and they don't understand
Yeah,
artifice.
yeah.
I love that.
It's so true. We don't, like an individual on the spectrum literally has to be taught to lie.
Yes.
They won't lie. They have to be taught to do something malicious.
Yeah.
But it's not something in their nature. So, I think that's just part of it. And the folks who are able really analyze everything they do.
Yeah.
Parker is a good example. My friend Nick is another example. These are individuals who, I swear to God, they analyze every aspect of every experience and really are very humble about learning and about improving themselves. And I don't know if that's people who have had a lot of years of ABA, or just people who have taken it was harder for them, so they realize that they have to work at learning things to just survive.
Yeah.
But they're very humble about learning. And if we were all very humble about learning and realize that there's a lot more for us to learn, then we'd also be very, just positive, great, wonderful people, because nothing would offend us.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the big difference.
I have to say that the first time I ever saw this, after my son had been treated for 5 years at CARD, you asked me to come at work at CARD. And so I had been coming twice a month to this building as a parent of a client and having these clinics in the building, and now suddenly I was coming every day with my little sack lunch to work there. And it was like going underground at Disneyland. Does everybody know that there's an underground under Disneyland where everything, all the rides work and they have the time clocks? You never see any of that.
I know.
Because it's literally underground. So I kept saying, I'm underground at Disneyland. And I was learning all of these things. But that first summer, you had 3 former clients who were working at CARD. There were 3 young men who were in their early 20s.
Oh my God, that was such a good time.
And they were...
I loved that time.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I learned so much.
And they were in
from them.
different departments too. That was what was awesome.
They totally were, and they were having an effect on everybody that they worked with that was positive, but they would often hang out together at lunch.
Yeah.
They would go to lunch
I
together.
know.
And there were many times that I would head to the elevators to go down for lunch the same time that they would.
Oh.
And I would ride in the elevators with them and listen to their conversation. They would always say, we're going here for lunch. Would you like to come? And often I couldn't. But it was so interesting to me that I would go to the elevator, and I'm not good with elevators. In any way you look at it. I don't ride them well. I'm a little afraid of them, but I'm also bad with the whole mechanism of it. And I get whacked by doors on a regular basis.
Weren't you also very claustrophobic or something?
Oh.
You had a hard time when we moved to the other...
I threatened to quit. I threatened to quit over the fact that, we were working in a building that essentially had 6 floors if you counted the basement to it.
Yeah.
And that's like my limit. I'm like, 6 is good. 6 is good. 8 is not, right? And I have good reasons in my life for why this is a thing, right? And then there was the day that you said, we just signed the lease on our new building. We're on the 18th and the 19th floor. And I said, it's been lovely working for you. And you said, we'll start systematic desensitization tomorrow. And I did it without you because I didn't want you doing it with me. I didn't want you to see me being a blithering idiot. But I was so grateful when I didn't have to take that elevator anymore.
Oh my gosh.
COVID came and I was like, oopsie, I don't have to take the elevator anymore. It was and when we were looking for space, I was like, I like the ground floor. I don't like elevators. And I get hurt in elevators. I've been whacked by them. So I'm always a little nervous around an elevator, and I would notice the other young men who were the same age would like go past me. They'd push the button. They'd go in the elevator, come out the elevator.
Not as well mannered,
No,
yeah.
no, like
Yeah.
I didn't exist,
Yeah.
right? But these 3 young men on the spectrum would hold the door for me. They would say, "You first."
Yeah.
Coming and going. They were
know.
so
I know.
kind. They would say, "How are you today?"
They still are.
And they would, and I would have these, and I would go, "Why are they so polite?
Yeah.
Is that a byproduct of the ABA? Is
Yeah.
that what you guys did?" And I remember somebody saying to me, "Well, I do know that people on the spectrum are very rule-oriented, and they learned
Yeah.
that this is a rule that when you're polite, people like it. It's that currency thing again."
I think so. I think there's definitely that. There's no question there's that. But I
Yeah.
think there's also just like you said, like the 3 of them would hang out
Oh,
together.
they're so sweet.
But that's my point. I think they also, there's a recognition of frailty. I don't know how to explain it. Like they are gentle towards other human beings.
Yeah.
Because they generally, they know what they've been through. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But I will say, Nick is a great example that he is still one of the most,
He's so kind.
he's so kind. He tries so hard to be accepted, loved, approved of. He takes such a long time to explain himself and he learns from every situation.
Yeah.
He's very analytic. And I think that is something that anyone who struggles develops that skill of just thinking a lot about what's going on, right? Because you're struggling and you're trying to find meaning to your for your struggle. And so you're like, why did this just happen? Why did they say that? What did that happen? And you become a very, very humble human being.
Yeah. But he's so considerate of other people's feelings.
Extremely.
It literally makes me break out into hives when people talk about individuals on the spectrum not having empathy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I always say, that's wrong.
That's so wrong.
That doesn't compute with what I know and who I know. And Nick's a great example of that because anything happens in the world.
Yeah.
Anything at all that even remotely would have
Yeah.
anything to do with me, I get a message from Nick and he says, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
I saw this and I thought of you and I wondered how you'd feel about
Yeah.
this."
Yeah.
And I think, my goodness, how many people do I know in this community? How many people do I know in
Yeah.
my life? I mean, I have thousands of people that I was their teacher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people will write to me on a regular basis, but Nick will think of me far more than anyone,
And-
even over my husband.
And that's what's
You know?
interesting, Shannon, is that he does that with multiple people.
Oh,
he does
hundreds
that
of
with
people.
me. I know he
Yep.
does that with like Ev and Kat, like a
Yeah.
lot of us. He's
Yes,
a very,
he's very
loving,
considerate.
caring person. Yeah.
Gotta love that. Somebody wants to know, is there a book or app to teach kids on the spectrum social manners?
I'm sure there is. Honestly, I don't know, but I'm sure there must be, because there's lots of books that just teach little kids manners.
Yeah.
But I think the easiest way to do this, because honestly, manners are very cultural and familial specific. So like I said, I think the best way to do it is for you to list the things that are important to you.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so many different things that have to do with manners. Like greetings is just one section. You know, mealtime, how you eat, what you do with your utensils. That's just one thing. Cleanliness, like making your bed, like all of those types of things could be classified under manners. You know, in some cultures, looking straight at someone is impolite.
Yeah.
So it's a very cultural and familial type of very specific set of rules. So I think the best thing would be to, you know, actually list the things that you think are important for your culture, your family, your society, and specifically teach those.
Yeah.
A lot of kids it's so easy for them because they are very rule governed,
Yeah.
and manners happen to be if this, then you do that. If that, you do this. You know, like just very specific set of rules.
Yeah, I think the double-edged sword here is that when, excuse me, when we teach manners and when we teach rules, I think our kids, I don't think teaching our kids the manners and the rules is the hard part. Excuse me, it's the nuances of after that, because there are rules and manners that my mother taught me, and there are rules and manners that my mother didn't teach me. And, you know, I can think of one friend in particular who was raised in a very different situation by money, you know, where there were a very different set of rules, where that was not a part of my upbringing, but my mother, there was an upbringing where you don't say something that would hurt somebody's feelings, right?
Right.
So I'm with a friend that I was taught, oh, you don't say something that hurts somebody's feelings, and she says to me something that clearly hurts my feelings, and I go, oh, she has no manners, right? But then she would do something, you know, it would be both sides, where we both were thinking, what, were you raised in a barn? Which was the expression my mother always used. But so I think you can't just teach the manner. I think you also have to teach how to deal with the frustration when other people don't follow the same set of rules.
Absolutely.
Because that I see as being a big problem for our very rule-governed people who are on the spectrum. They're like, wait, that's a rule. Why are they breaking the rule?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's part of it. And also, there are, you know, obviously situations where the manners that you've learned or the set of rules that you've learned aren't enough. Like, for instance, calling someone sir. I mean, that would be very typical sir and ma'am if you're in the South. If you're raised in a family in the South, you would learn to do that, or in an army type family, like, right? But you're not going to get that in, let's say, California, you know, no one's going to do that. So it's very specific, and I think, you know, we always start with the basics, and then you elaborate and you show. This is really important. We had a lesson called Gray. Or the Gray.
Shades of Gray.
Shades of Gray. That's what it was called. Thank you.
It's like a Monkees song.
Shades of Gray. That's right. That's right.
That's why I remember.
So, and what we would do is we would first teach the rules, and then we would say, but couldn't it also be this?
Yeah.
And then it would teach the child that certain gradients of the rule are still okay. Yeah. And that's just as important, as important, because it just helps us be more accepting and understanding of all the different types of people that are out there in the world.
Well, and be better prepared to deal with the frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this is why, Shannon, I always, when people criticize and say, you know, I am on the spectrum, I don't want to be changed. Yes. These are the things that I talk about. There's a set of rules in society, and these are the rules we're talking about right now, right? Like, we can't go out into society naked. That's a rule. Right. And we all live with that rule, right? I mean, in some societies, actually in Africa, they do. Yeah. But in the most of the world, the Western world, you dress. Right. And you dress according to certain rules as well, like if you're going to work as opposed to, let's say, a football game or whatever it is. Yeah. And those are rules that we all adhere to. And when we teach our kids, all we are trying to do is bring them within the acceptable norms, right? Not necessarily, what was the word someone used, brainwash them. Yes. But to bring them into the norm set of rules so that so that they don't feel uncomfortable, so that they're not judged poorly, so that they're not rejected from society. That's what the goal of therapy is.
There we go. I do want to acknowledge that Esther said, thank you so much for the advice. Love you both, and we're loving you back, Esther. Okay, we've only got like less than a minute left, and we aren't, as far as I understand, we're not doing a show next Tuesday.
Are we not?
That's what I heard. Let's say
that's right. That's right. We're not. Okay. We're not.
So this is our last show before Thanksgiving. So I thought we'd take just a minute to say what we're grateful for. What are you grateful for?
Oh my gosh, I'm grateful for so many things. Thank you for that. I appreciate that that we have this minute to do this. First of all, I'm grateful for my family. I'll have to start there. My kids and my husband and my dogs and my mom. And of course, I'm very, very grateful for you. I really am. And you've been this whole experience of life with you over the past 5 years has kept me sane. Let me just tell you that. And I love doing this with you, and I love that we have this. I really do. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful for that man over there.
He's on my list.
He's an amazing guy, Chris, who joined us again. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to come back and help CARD, help the families, the kids, the employees, just try to get this beautiful company back on its feet and successful again, because it's done a lot of good in the world, and I want it to continue to do a lot of good in the world. And I'm thankful to live in a beautiful place that's filled with peace and love. Yeah. And, you know, for all the good friends, and there's just so much to be grateful for. You know, occasionally at night when I can't sleep, I'll be watching something on Instagram or something. I just saw this. I had to save it. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was a little boy. They're sitting at Thanksgiving table. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll send it to you. It's a little boy. He's probably like 8 or 9. And he starts to say what he's thankful for. And he starts bawling. Oh. And he just says, there's just so much to be thankful for. And I love this video so much. It's so true. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to express all that.
I love that. And I'm going to say that I very similarly, I'm grateful for health. I'm going to put that on the list.
Absolutely, right.
And for my family and their health. Right. I am so grateful. And for my dogs, who both have one foot on a banana peel and the other in the grave. So I'm grateful for them. And I'm grateful for you more than you could ever know.
Thank you, Shannon.
Always the beacon, you're the lighthouse.
Oh my God,
man.
Thank you.
That is who you are in my life, both before, you know, and now and forevermore. I am incredibly grateful for Chris Desmond.
Yes.
And him coming in. We call him, even to his face now, the Ted Lasso of our office, because he's so positive, so willing, so philosophically on the right side of things always. What an amazing opportunity to work with him. And I am so grateful to be back at CARD and to have this opportunity. And thank you for that opportunity to, you know, fight the good fight and help families. It is sometimes not easy, and the challenge is I'm very grateful for the challenge. And I'm also ridiculously grateful for all of you who have been on this journey with us and continue to be on this journey. I know that so many of you are at a place where you're fighting the good fight to help your kiddo to be able to have the best possible life that they can have. Yeah. And I appreciate that so much, and the fact that you are willing to share some of your time with us, let us into your home, to be on this journey with you is just a privilege.
It is such a privilege. Yes, it is.
Such an amazing thing. I just weep constantly. I leak like I don't know what. I was going to say like a leaky bag, but that doesn't make sense. Anyway, so thankful for all of that.
Absolutely.
We hope that you guys find many, many things like the little boy to be thankful for this Thanksgiving and every day. We will be here next week. We just won't be here with Dr. Granpeesheh. I want you guys to know that tomorrow we're doing a show. We've got 2 amazing guests. Anthony Vasquez and Carolyn Corey are going to be here. They're 2 amazing adults from Spec Labs who are going to be here talking about their lives and what they do and as performers. We've had Anthony before on the show a couple of times. He's always a breath of fresh air, and he's bringing a friend this time. So we really love that. And then we are going to be back. Our toy guide is coming out on Friday.
Oh my gosh!
It is done and being proofread. I can't even tell you.
Exciting!
It's like my hair might turn green or purple or something because it's so exciting to be done. But on Monday we are going to start the Festival of Toys, and on Monday and Tuesday we're preempting your show.
Wonderful,
and we're going to be covering amazing, amazing toys so that you guys will be ready for that Black Friday shopping.
Nice.
So all of that and much more, stay tuned. But don't forget to be back here live tomorrow. We're even doing Jargon of the Day tomorrow, which we have not done for a little while. Wow. So we're back with a vengeance. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.